Hello and welcome to my series Project Eden, where I try to make a 100% self-sustainable base, no influence from external sources, no Weezwoods, no gas geysers, nothing, right? I've again done quite a lot of work since the last series, or the last episode in the series. And one thing that actually struck me is that it's kind of interesting when you don't use debug mode. I never use debug mode, but I think you don't see this when using debug mode, is all the mini challenges you get when you do this that you won't get using debug mode. And for example, like you get like a little race against time with different things, because all the machines you make produce externalities, right? So for example, since I don't want to I want to run like a net zero of everything, like no excess of anything in the base, everything should be used, and it should not use any external input, right? So for example, the slicksters here, they don't need all the carbon dioxide produced by your power plants, right? So if I would just keep running this one, and use pumping in all the carbon dioxide produced by my power plants here, I would actually run an excess oil. And then it's not a closed system, because if you have a closed system, sooner or later you will just have it all overflowing with oil, right? So I actually had to do something about it. So what I did was I pumped the correct amount of carbon dioxide in here, but then I had to vent the rest. So I started to venting it down here. And then of course I have a limited time frame here, that when I either have to just vent it out in the surroundings or actually starting to take care of it. So I actually had to get like, yeah, carbon skimmer doesn't really take that long time to put up, right? But I still need to do it in time before I get to high pressure. It was up to like 15 kilograms here. Now it's down to 9. But the thing is, this of course produces a lot of polluted water. So then again I have a race against time to start taking care of polluted water before I have too much and have to make an emergency measure and kind of just vent it outside of the base, right? So what I got up, apart from this one, is my boiler. So I have a boiler here where I can boil away any excess polluted water to clear water, right? And that clear water is pumped out here. So right now what I'm producing is pretty much just an excess of clear water. This one is connected to a little hydro sensor here, so it just activates if the level here is too high. So what this means is I can either use polluted water for something or clear water. So if I use a lot of polluted water, this level won't really hit, and this one won't really be active that much, right? And if I use a lot of clear water for stuff in the future, then this one will actually be active a lot. It's probably better if I try to use more polluted water than clear water for food production and stuff like that, because this one produces heat that I also need to take care of. But right now then, this system here, I've cut the power to the main base. I cut oxygen production, or oxygen from the main base. So right now this is self-sustaining on oxygen power, and I have an excess of water as well. So I'm making about like, well, 8.33 of these are online, right? And every single one of them produce water, 67 grams of water. So that's roughly, I guess, like 500 grams of water or something, right? I don't have a calculator right now, but I produce water, right? Some of this cleaned here, and any excess is cleaned up here, right? So one of the things is I don't have anything that actually consumes water right now. And there's also will be some water added from the toilets. I already put some toilets in place, right? And that means I kind of have a small race against time now to actually start putting up the stuff where they will consume water, because I'm running in excess of it. Second problem I actually run into is also kind of interesting, is I'm starting to get a really high pressure of oxygen, because I have extra oxygen production up, right? But then they spend a lot of time outside this base kind of gathering materials, doing other stuff, right? They don't spend all the time inside the base, and that means that I'm producing more oxygen than I'm using here. So even if I only like pump 300 grams of polluted oxygen through here, they don't really use 300 grams. So I either have to start really consuming oxygen here, or I will be forced to vent it. The problem is I didn't really care earlier what happened in the rest of my, like, this far out in the asteroid. I'm almost at the top of it. So I already have kind of high pressure in a lot of areas. One of the reasons was that normal gas. I didn't think about this, right? But it's actually a really good tip, right? I have mostly high pressure vents here, but like normal gas vents, like I have down in my main base, probably in a lot of places, right? They work very well if you have one type of gas in an area. But say you have a bit of polluted gas, that gas can be low density traveling through a high density area. And when it passes through the gas vent, it kind of lures or trick the gas vent to think it's low density, so it will keep pumping. So if you have like a normal gas vent that can't get overpressured in an area with mixed gases, over time it will still occasionally, when low pressure gas pass it, push out more gas, which means I've run this for like 2,300 cycles, even more, and over that long time, just a little happening once in a while, kind of you start to get really high gas pressure in some areas, just through that little gas that you're pumping out. And this is despite actually clearing areas from material, right? So that's one of the things I have to do something about, right? So more than that, I'm also starting to try to trick my little puffs to move in here. Hopefully one of them is already in here. Here is when I'm gonna have my puffs, and hopefully they will end up here, right? So this is kind of as far as gotten. I also had a little experiment going on here. I wanted these mealwood to produce fruits that they didn't use for food, right? But of course they went in and got it, right? So I first tried to kind of see if they could harvest it from beneath. They can plant it from below actually, but they can't really harvest it. So that kind of was a bummer, because I wanted them to be able to harvest the mealwood but not pick it up. So the system I came up with was just giving one single duplicant, Ren, access, and then setting jobs for Ren so he can harvest, but he cannot deliver. See if I actually done that now. Ren, yeah, he can't deliver, right? So he will be able to go in and harvest, but he can't really pick anything up from there, right? And he's one of the 3 duplicants I'm going to have living in here. So you know those little things on the map where do we have one of those? You know those brainy things where you can increase the level of the duplicants? Yeah, we got one over here, right? So they consume less oxygen, for example. I choose the duplicants that didn't have any of those traits to have like completely normal duplicants living in here. So I think the next step for me right now is I have to actually start consuming the water, and I have to start to make them consume more oxygen here, so I don't really have to vent that much, right? So I think I will have to put up like food production, so they can start eat here, because then they will spend more time here. Maybe also restrict for the 3 duplicants that are supposed to live here later to actually leave the place, so they get stuck in here, right? That way I make sure they consume, but then of course they need to be able to eat first, right? So that's probably on my to-do list next. I'm not really sure about the choice of food, but since I have a lot of excess water, and I like the thought that I actually have water production on my own, right? So I don't want to rethink that really, is that I need stuff that actually consume water to eat, right? And that is, I guess, as far as I've gotten. So I'm getting pretty confident now. Like, I'm being pretty confident that I will succeed for a long time, and I'm starting to get pretty close. I'm not also sure about like the overall heat production. I might need to add some type of extra cooling system, so that might also be on the list, because I'm not really sure this will actually be able to cool everything down, right? This area could actually have more cooling than I need, but I think it's mostly because cold leaking in from here as well, where it's 22 degrees, right? So I will see where this pans out once this room is kind of up to the same-ish temperatures in here. Same for this place, right? I do have a cooling loop, but I don't know if it's sufficient or too much, because some cold is leaking through the door. I could of course close these doors, but since I still kind of want to do some maintenance in here and some changes from time to time, I haven't really removed it, right? All right, hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'm pretty far gone now, so I think I'm closing in to actually finishing this product and be able to do, or this colony, and be able to do a test run. So everything's gonna close off here, wall this off with 3 duplicants in, and then run this for a test run first to see if I need to modify anything, and then see if it's really a closed system. Of course, I'm gonna clean up here and make it nice, and I need a sick bay and all that jazz as well. All right, cheers.